All right, kids, here we are. Here we go. It is 12:06 and a good afternoon. My name is Matt Murphy, and this is the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for being with us. The next 3 hours should be talk radio excellence. At least we certainly hope so. We'll hand off to the excellent Brian Wilson at that time. It is Monday, August 26, 2024, and I thank you for being a part of the show today. Whatever time you're able to give us. What do I hear? Oh. Now, see, I've screwed up the perfect show because I forgot to silence my laptop computer, and it was playing some sort of video, because you cannot go to the Fox News website without the Fox News website inundating you with 14 different videos. If there is something, I don't know that it's on the top 10 list of things I hate, but it's probably on the top 25 list of things I hate. When you go to a website and it pops a video up, whether you want to see the video or not. And I understand advertising is advertising. I know, I know the Cards for Kids commercial is a big winner on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I get it. But man, oh man, it just wears me thin when these videos pop up unbeknownst to me, especially when I've done an amateur move and not silenced my laptop computer prior to coming on the radio with you. So one way or the other, it is a Monday. Hope your Monday's going well so far. Hope you had a good weekend. I thought of a good new segment that I want to start doing on these Mondays. I think that we should do them every Monday at about 12:30 during the Libertarian lunchtime hour, and we will call it Best Weekend Ever, Worst Weekend Ever. And it gives the audience an opportunity to participate on the membersnutrition.com super text line or on the phone line, 615-737-9986. I'm not saying we do it today, Bell, but I think maybe we work on it, come up. You know how I am with the themes. I love a good theme for a segment or a bit. We work on it, and best weekend ever, worst weekend ever. So you call and you say, Murphy, best weekend ever, and you tell me why. Or worst weekend ever, and you tell me why. Or you can do a combination of both, like best of, worst of type things. This is not new to the show. I mean, I'm not brand new on this. I think people have been doing it since radio was invented, but I just thought it was a different way to do the concept because, there's always some good things and bad things happening during the weekend, and we appreciate the weekend warriors that make our weekends possible, by the way, and I should note that. Man, oh man, if it weren't for you guys, you restaurateurs and convenience store workers and obviously firefighters, first responders, EMTs, et cetera, our weekends would not be what they are. So thank you for that. But I'm thinking on this, and I'll figure it out. All right, it's episode 639 of our proceedings today. It is Locks for Trump Day 177. I happened to see Dan Mandis in the hallways this morning. More on that in a moment. And Mandis said, man, your hair's getting long, Murphy. And I said, yeah, Dan, we're doing this thing on the show called Locks for Trump. It's day 177. I know. And so you know what I did? And he dared me to do this. He virtually bet me. I don't think there was a bet made, but it was like a schoolyard double dog dare that I wouldn't do this. And I'm about to do it. So if you're not watching on Super Talk TV right now, you need to go over there and watch on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, because I'm about to do this. So Mandis, who is famously, or depending on your perspective, infamously bald, is, cracking on my hair. Man, your hair's getting long, Murphy. And I was like, yeah, I'm not cutting it until we have a new president-elect, and let's hope it's Donald Trump. I know, he said. It's day 177, by the way. And he said, I bet you won't, what you need to do is get on Super Talk TV and shake it out.
You've already done that once.
And I didn't bother to tell him. So, for Dan, hopefully you're watching on Super Talk TV, man. And I said, if I do it, will you do it too?
That's just mean.
What?
That's just mean.
And he said he would. I'm not confident. And so because there was no video recording of this hallway conversation, I'm going to go ahead and say that Dan agreed that if I do this, he would do it too.
He might have said he couldn't. Not that he would, but he could.
I just want to watch him shake out his non-existent hair. And so for those of you watching on Supertalk TV, by the way, Supertalk TV is up and running, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. You can find us on those platforms. Like us and subscribe to us when you go over there. You can also find us on 99.7 FM, anywhere from Southern Kentucky to Northern Alabama and all points in between. And, of course, internet streaming, anywhere you go, the audio platform is up and running. Just type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN, wherever you get your audio for whatever reason, news, information, sports, podcast, and, of course, News Talk. We are there. And if we're not there, let us know and we'll get there. So if you're watching on episode 630, while I'm getting ready to do this, tell everybody what episode 639 is entitled, Bill.
Matt Murphy Show, T-minus 6251. If you know, you know.
I don't think I know.
Yes, you do. You know more than anyone. T-minus 6251.
T-minus 6251. Okay, I'm gonna shake my hair out and try to figure this out. All right, you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ready?
Do it.
So, is that good?
Mm-hmm.
I'm nice and dizzy now. No, I mean it. I'm nice and dizzy. I might throw up. Okay, Dan, so your move, Chief. I shook mine out. You shake yours out on the morning show in Nashville's Morning News on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. There you go. Jay Harper's back in the newsroom. He's gathering headlines as we speak, and he will deliver those again at 12:30 on the half hour and anytime news breaks. Jay is there for you, and we appreciate him. I mentioned that it's episode 639. What other pleasantries do I need to mention as we get the show started? Oh, by the way, Supertalk TV, I mentioned that. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch is brought to you by U.S. Pest. Our good friends J.K., Erica, and the rest of the team over at U.S. Pest are very, very kind to bring you Supertalk TV. And for what it's worth, we'd love to see you over there. Okay, Belle, this happened to me. By the way, hello.
Hello.
How was your weekend?
It was good.
Best weekend ever?
No.
Worst weekend ever?
No.
Somewhere in the middle?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to get a lot of that out of you on a Monday.
There was a mouse in my kitchen, and I took a towel and I threw it over him. Then I scooped him up and walked him outside and let him go.
Wait. Your cats are pretty much confined to your space in the bedroom, right?
Right.
Okay. So I forgive them.
The Cobra's not, though. I'm surprised
I'm a little bit upset at Spicy because Spicy should be handling those things with a fair amount of regularity. I mean, that tells me that you're feeding Spicy well.
It's like, earn your keep, you stupid snake.
Right? I mean, it made it, but see, the problem is if you feed Spicy less, then the cat looks a lot like a big rat, and then you have some trouble. Yeah. I get that. So you let the mouse live?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you a story at the risk of everybody on the super text line calling me a pud. But I'm going to tell it anyway. There was a time where I used rat poison. I don't use rat poison anymore. Do you know why?
No.
Because I watched a mouse die from rat poisoning.
Oh, it's horrific, yeah.
Because part of what the rat poison does is it creates in them, it dehydrates them. It sucks out the moisture. And it creates a desire. Not only does it poison them, it creates for them a desire to find water. The reason partially that they do that for twofold. One is to dehydrate them to the point that they stink less if they do die in the walls. And two, it's designed to try to draw them out of the walls so they don't die in the walls. And I came home one day and I saw this little mouse who was doing nothing but trying to keep warm. And I know I get puttish when it comes to little animals like this. And he was on the floor and he had gotten into some of the rat poison and I watched him die and I didn't want to do that anymore. I would prefer the boom. Look, you're in my space. I understand you got to do what you got to do. I'm talking rat trap, mouse trap. Let's go. Quick, easy, boom.
It's like the guillotine versus
Yeah, I can't handle it. Can't do it anymore. So you are a very kind soul, Belle, too. Was it a mouse or a rat?
It was a mouse. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely a mouse.
You name him?
Survivor.
Well, if you name him, you keep him, right? That would be a little trouble with you and the kitty cats and the Spicy, the Cobra. All right, we've got lots to get into. I cannot be more excited about where we are in this election with what? How many days do we have left? Someone on the super text line tell me. I cannot be more excited about this election. I'm going to start really low key because I feel like I'm going to get very excited as I discuss it. Folks, regardless of what the mainstream media tries to force feed you, there is a remaining panic within socialist / statist / leftist / Democrat circles. You can use any of those words interchangeably, and they suffice. It was not 4 months ago that the Washington Post wrote about the need to replace Kamala Harris. The Washington Post, democracy dies in darkness. They did this because, well, honesty compelled them to note that Kamala Harris was such an ineffective vice president in every political way that it becomes impossible to attempt to overlook Joe Biden and move on to the next best thing if you hate Donald Trump so much that victory is your one and only goal. The political left, the deep state, and the mainstream media, which are all part of the same loosely connected structure, they are so invested in the destruction of Donald Trump and, by extension, the protection of the deep state and the protection of the American bureaucratic state, that they will run over anyone and everyone to accomplish their goals, to include their own. Understand. And there's any number of examples that I could offer you, the last of which is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and we'll get to more on that a little bit later on in the show. How suddenly Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is mentally insane. Suddenly, he's all of these things. He's never really been that much of a Democrat to begin with. It's not like the guy has any name ID. All of these were lines of thought and narratives that were being created over the weekend because Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had the audacity, had the unmitigated gall, had the insanity to announce his support of Donald Trump Friday. So understand that all of this emanates from a structured design to move us toward a more centrally controlled government and a more centrally controlled people. I don't think it's a matter of conjecture or opinion that is what the Democrat policy proposals would lead to. They would probably characterize it differently than I just did, but it is a fact. Empirical data in front of you demonstrates that they want us to be more centrally governed in a place far, far away, not in Nashville, Tennessee, not in Atlanta, Georgia, not in Montgomery, Alabama, not even in our local city councils or our local town halls. They want your life to be controlled in Washington, D.C., by bureaucrats that you never see. And ultimately by bureaucrats that you never vote for. Donald Trump, in a very bombastic, brash, and forward-facing way, is an extreme threat to all of that. And as an extreme threat, he must be destroyed. And you will do anything and everything to destroy him, to include characterizing him as a dictator, a tyrant, a Hitler, to include demanding that we believe that he's an authoritarian that will never give up power despite the fact that he already has once. After, my opinion, an election was taken from him. And so you're going to do anything and everything in your power to accomplish that goal. But you have to do so within reason, understanding that you can lose a battle and you can lose even you can lose a battle or a series of battles and you can even lose what we would classify as the current war, if the war is, the war for the election of 2024. But they are also trying to play the long game. But they understand that they can take a step too far. One of the reasons that I tell you that one thing you can guarantee about liberals is that they think you're dumb and they always overplay their hand. And they understand that they always overplay their hand. So they constantly try to fight against that. And so 4 months ago, the Washington Post and other leftist media outlets and other consultants and whatnot within the deep state liberal circles were suggesting that there was no way to overlook Joe Biden or move beyond Joe Biden because Kamala Harris prevented you from doing so. She was that bad of a candidate. And then June 27th happened. It was by design that it happened. I called it the Biden replacement theory, that they ran on the premise that they needed to find out early enough if Joe Biden was going to be able to make it across the finish line. I mean, their mission and their itinerary is in plain sight. We see how they check off the boxes. We need to make sure if Joe can do this or not because we have to deal with Kamala. Now, they would have loved it had they solved their Kamala problem before Joe flamed out, but they were unable to do it. So they have to play the hand of their dealt. Joe flames out. I mean, these are all stories that we know, and I don't want to belabor the point. Joe flames out, and then you're left with Kamala. And then you have to, and we called it the reclamation of candidate zero. Thank you. So we start from there. You begin to reclaim her, and you fake enthusiasm to the point that you believe that it will build to a crescendo and it will culminate in ultimately real enthusiasm by the end of the convention. Do you believe real enthusiasm has occurred on the part of the Democrats? I don't see it. Am I missing it? Because I don't see it. Is it more than Biden? Of course it is. Biden's half dead. But it's not real. We'll discuss in just a moment. It's 12:23, Libertarian Lunchtime Hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. There are two locations to serve you, gentlemen, for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Now, I say gentlemen because they are a men's-centric clinic to provide you men's-centric health options for your energy levels and other things that might come your way. Now, ladies, if you're listening and you feel like your guy, the man in your life, has lost a step or two, and you've noticed it and you don't want to say anything. If you feel like you've lost a step or two when it comes to intimate relations, perhaps, I'm not here to tell you your business, but I know this. This is the business of the Tennessee Men's Clinic. It's what they do. And they can assist you. They've helped thousands of men just like you. Thousands of men just like your guy, ladies. And they can help you too. A simple call, make the appointment, get to the appointment. One of their qualified urologists will go over you. We'll talk to you about exactly what's going on in your life, energy levels and whatnot. We'll get to a diagnosis, the bottom line, and then a plan of action. A plan of success for you to get you back to life again, whether it's getting to the gym or getting outside, taking walks and whatnot, doing things with your loved ones outside or bedroom activity. They can assist you at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com, TennesseeMen'sClinic.com, or give them a call today at 615-208-9090, 208-9090 for Tennessee Men's Clinic.
A police standoff still going on in East Nashville and a major juice recall. We'll have both of those stories at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Wait, we got standoff and juice recall?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
I'm trying to figure out which one I'm curious about both of those stories. That's a professional tease from Jay Harper because
you think so?
Yeah, I do.
Well,
curious about both of those stories. I can't tell you which one I'm more curious about. It really depends on the type of juice. We'll find out. I mean, it does. I mean, why are you laughing? It does.
Why does the type of juice matter?
Well, because I drink certain types of juice. If it's grape juice, to hell with those people. Y'all
That's just rude.
Y'all got what's coming to you.
There are other juices more popular than others. So it's a legitimate question.
Jay knows exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, if you're drinking a juice that I don't really care for and I don't, I pass on by, walk on by in the grocery store, then, I mean, that's on you. Now, Jay needs to tell the story. Don't get me wrong, because there's plenty of juice drinkers out there. But
and I know, Matt, if it's prune juice, he's in trouble.
Here I go. I'm all in. I'm listening.
I think that Matt's interest in juices is relegated to ones that can be used as setups.
Which are all the juices.
No,
actually,
you're not going to use apple juice as a setup.
Who are you talking to? What do you... Is apple juice the only thing I have?
Prune juice.
Do I? So I'm picking between apple and prune? Then I'm going apple.
Of course.
Because the liquor's already going to get things moving. You don't need the prune juice is superfluous at that point. I'm about to be 51. I just figured out the gig. You helped me out a lot with it. The T-6 to 5-1. I'm not proud of telling you that in my 50 years, I think I've used just about everything as a mixer. I cannot tell you. I mean, anything and everything. Vodka works with anything and everything.
And then other times, desperation has its hand.
Well, that's right. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, you could go straight, but, you don't want to be a heathen. So out comes the chocolate milk, and let's figure it out. Let's do what we got to do.
Oh, man, this is beyond stupid
What?
and so funny. Chocolate milk.
Who among us has not been there? You're standing in front of the fridge, and you got 2 types of liquor and 3 types of mixer, and you got to figure out what works. It's a Saturday night.
What do you mix Kahlua with? Bailey's? Or no, it's Bailey's and Kahlua, right?
And chocolate milk.
So you could probably use chocolate milk.
Yeah, it's a black Russian, right? Yeah. A white Russians with regular milk and a black Russians with chocolate milk. That's how that works, I think.
And if you got coffee, you can vodka, gin, whatever. You do the chocolate espresso martini thing with the chocolate milk. I mean, it's genius.
Look, I know that I've attracted the right type of listeners when 8557 says Crown apple and apple juice is absolutely dangerously delicious. And now for the rest of the show, I'm going to be thinking, man, I can't wait to get to the liquor store and get me some Crown apple and then go to the... Gosh, now I'm invested because I'm hopeful that Jay Harper's not going to talk about apple juice because I got to go to the store and get apple juice and get some Crown apple. I'm going to listen to Jay Harper. Jason, you are so wrong. Jason just said vodka doesn't work with root beer. What sort of alcoholic are you trying to become, Jason? Of course it does. Let's get to the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It's 12:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got sunshine, just keeps getting hotter. 94 degrees. A complete forecast is coming up. Metro Nashville police still on the scene of a standoff situation at a home in East Nashville on Carter Street. Police initially arrived to the home earlier this morning on a burglary call and discovered the suspect still inside the home. Police are asking everyone to avoid the area until the situation is resolved. Well, we have a major Walmart recall. Stand by, Matt Murphy. It's apple juice. ABC's Derek Dennis reports.
Walmart has recalled nearly 10,000 cases of Great Value brand apple juice sold in 25 states, Puerto Rico, and the District of Columbia. The juice was found to contain potentially harmful levels of arsenic. The FDA has given the recall more urgent classification after announcing its original alert 2 weeks ago. The new classification says the affected product may temporarily cause adverse health consequences, but is unlikely to cause serious or irreversible medical issues.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Man, this is the time of year where the bugs are still going hot and heavy, and you have to start worrying about some of the spiders. I always considered fall to be spider season. I don't know why, because I see a lot of webs. I see a lot of outdoor spider activity. Did you know spiders are inside your house as well? They want to keep warm and safe and dry. They want to take all of your stuff. Well, if you're like me and you don't really care for spiders, I don't really care for bugs, generally speaking. That's why I love JK, Erica, and the rest of the team at U.S. Pest so much. I mean, I love the fact that they're great Americans and they love this country. I love the fact that they do a great job and a great service to the Middle Tennessee community. I love the fact that they are there for you and they want you to recommend them to a friend. You know, I don't talk about this referral program very much. If you are already a U.S. Pest member and you believe in U.S. Pest protection, you can refer a neighbor, a friend, or a family member and receive a $50 credit on your account or a free mosquito, tick, and flea treatment. How about that? Call today for more information on U.S. Pest, all of what they do, full-service pest control, termite protection, crawl space services, right there on their website at uspest.com. That's uspest.com, or give a call and schedule a free inspection today at 615-590-1260, 590-1260 for our friends at U.S. Pest. It's all fun and games until it's actual apple juice. And there you have it. By the way, it's the Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7, WTN, 1237. Glad to have you with us. Give us a call if you so desire at any point during the conversation. We'd love to hear from you, 615-737-9986. That's the way to turn a monologue into a dialogue, 615-737-9986. You can also hit us up on the membersnutrition.com super text line. Same telephone number, 615-737-9986. We'd love to hear from you from either of those sources, and we thank all of you for being with us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN and the Libertarian Lunch. So I'll get back to Harris in just a moment and set this up because there's several things to say about where we are in the election cycle. But you heard Jay Harper mention that it's great value apple juice that is of concern. And it gets kind of serious. We were having fun with, the whole, is it a mix or is it a setup? And Renee writes in and says, literally just walked to the fridge and dumped out our apple juice that my daughter's already drank some of. Good luck over there. And I'm certain that all will be well.
That's actually Walmart's generic brand.
That's right.
Yeah. That's odd.
Yeah, so there you go. First and foremost, writes 0403, Jameson whiskey in the freezer. It goes down really smooth, and the flavor comes on gently as it warms in your mouth. I was a disc jockey, D-I-S-S, jockey, in a small club years ago, and their signature drink was Scotch, Kahlua, and milk. It's kind of a sissy drink, considering that I drink straight Irish whiskey, but you guys kind of strike me as sissies anyway, so give it a try. Well, thank you, 0403. I will not be giving it a try. But I do. If I were to drink Kahlua and milk, I would put vodka in it and just call it a Caucasian, as the dude said, and be done with it. But in all seriousness, just look out for the great value apple juice. I'm certain that you can find more on that. Arsenic in the apple juice is nothing to joke about. So, Kamala Harris. The liberals knew that it was a bad choice, but it was the best of a bad lot. They could not jump her because they understood the ultimate consequences within their own party. And so when it became apparent through the Biden replacement theory that Joe Biden would not be able to get them across the finish line, they knew that Joe Biden was infirm. They had known it for years. Nobody in the mainstream media has held them to account. No one in the mainstream media has called them to task. And I ask that they do, although I'm seeing the beginnings of a pattern on the part of the mainstream media, and I saw it over the weekend that I want to illustrate to you. That's very important. I don't know that they can get out of this alive if they decide that they're going to try to basically thumb their nose at ABC, CBS, NBC, #NeverCNN, MSNBC, and others within the mainstream media cabal that they're thumbing their nose at right now. Eventually, these mainstream media outlets are going to get tired of it too, and I have a couple of examples of that today. I just want to remind you, and I'm not playing a game of Murphy was right necessarily, because don't do it. I don't think it's time yet. There might come a time, but I don't think it's time yet. When Biden was booted out and threatened with the 25th Amendment by Nancy Pelosi and others, I predicted that you would see, because you're dealing with a bunch of starving people. If you encounter 10 starving people on a raft and you give them all week-old stale bread, they're going to be so damn appreciative of that week-old, almost rotten, kind of moldy stale bread, because they are starving people. The Democrats were starving with Joe Biden, and their lifeboat was leaking, and they knew it. And they're relying on someone that they don't know if that someone can get them across the finish line or not, but the powers that be understood that unless they created enthusiasm for Kamala Harris, unless they recreated Kamala Harris out of whole cloth, unless they rebuilt her record, and all of the positions that she has taken prior to 2024 will no longer matter as a result, there's zero chance of them winning a fairly contested election. Now, I don't know that this will be fairly contested, But I know this. As I said last Friday, we've got no excuses this time around. In 2016, they never saw Donald Trump coming. And by extension, I would say in 2016, they never saw us coming. They never saw or understood the disgust that we have with centralized government. They never saw or understood the disgust that we have with the failed deep state. Oh, but they knew by 2020, didn't they? They knew by 2020. And they took a feeble and infirm candidate and they created a basement campaign bathed in COVID, and it worked. And they used every mechanism at their disposal. Early voting, mail-in balloting, ballot harvesting, all of it. We've got no excuses this time around. We know exactly who they are, and they know exactly who we are. And they know that we're more enthusiastic than them. And that's what I want to leave during the libertarian life. If you have to leave us and go back to work, and I understand that because many of you do on a day-to-day basis, understand this. They know that we are more enthusiastic about our guy than they are about their guy / gal. They know that. And they know that they have to repair her record to the point that they cannot allow her to speak on mainstream media in unscripted interviews. Folks, ask yourself this, and if you know any liberal friends, if you have any liberal friends, and, all of us have got one or two, right? Oh, by the way, squirrel, give me a squirrel. Without giving away too much, is it wrong of me, Bell? I just snap judgment call on this. Jay Harper, you can weigh in on this one too if you want. Snap judgment call on this. I've been living over in Mount Juliet now. Without getting too detailed, I think I can say this without fear of reprisal because of what I'm about to tell you. I don't think that my neighbor is going to hear this and get upset at me for saying this because of what I'm about to tell you. Y'all are ready? So I meet my neighbor. I moved in a couple years ago. We're almost 2 years into the lease now. Like my neighbor, we have nice enough conversations. They invited us over for a pool party at one point. We didn't go, but they invited us over. It's very pleasant conversations. Like, he's a golfer. We talk about golfing a little bit. He's retired, I think. I'm not going to say his name for reasons that you'll understand in just a second. Is it wrong of me that the day that they put the Harris Walls sign out in their front yard, I wanted to burn their house down? Is that wrong?
Not. It would have been if you had actually acted on it.
Okay.
The emotions are understandable. Certainly.
I just don't understand who I've been talking to for the past 2 years.
Well, you're not going to let that. You're not going to let that one piece of information change your relationship, are you?
That one piece of information changes the way that I view that human being. Absolutely. I cannot help it.
I totally get it.
I cannot help it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change the way I interact with him.
Okay, I guess that's what I should have been more.
But it absolutely impacts what I think of him. Is that wrong?
No, I can't say I wouldn't feel the same.
I mean, it's one thing if that's where he is from a political standpoint and that's where he is. It's another thing that he's so much there that he's putting out a Harris Walls sign in his front yard.
They might have paid him to.
Oh, well, that's a consideration I didn't.
Is there a wife in the home as well?
There is, Jay.
Perhaps it's the wife, and you know how we husbands can be. It's like, sure, honey, go ahead, stick that thing out there, just to keep peace in the family, I don't know.
Would you pull that clip? Go ahead, honey, stick that thing out there. Jay, that's on me. You didn't say anything wrong. I made it bad.
I know, that's just the way your brain works.
That's just the way I did.
No, that was just a setup for the host.
No, there's a line that the host could use here about you stick that out there. Never mind. I'm not going there. I'm not doing it. But you guys get it, and I understand exactly what you're saying. You got to keep peace in the home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Maybe that's the case. But anyway, that's just an aside. I can't help it, but I judged. And any of y'all that I mean, I'm not saying it will alter in any way the relationship I have with my neighbor, because that's all superfluous anyway. I mean, that's all just surface level. Hello, how are you? Golf weather, blah, blah, blah. When are you shutting down the pool? Just neighborly type stuff. So it's not like we're buddies anyway. But we're friendly, and we will remain friendly, no question. But I do want to purchase a 20-foot tall Trump inflatable and put it up in my front yard facing his house.
That was what I was going to ask you. If you were going to put any type of Trump, memorabilia, merchant, or whatever the word is, in your yard, and see how that perhaps would change his opinion of you.
I would do like a 4-foot tall, 3-foot wide photograph of his mugshot, and I would point it toward his house. Like just the Trump mugshot, and I would point it toward his house. I think that's what I would do. I cannot, and the reason that I feel like I can talk about this openly on the radio is because I don't really have fear of reprisal. Anyone that's putting a Harris Walls sign in their front yard, I don't think they're listening to my radio show. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But once again, I'm not evaluating them as humans, except I kind of am evaluating them as humans. I can't help but judge. And that's kind of where we've gotten to in our society today. I suppose that liberals think the same way. I can't imagine that they do, but I suppose they do. That they look at conservatives and they think, oh, my goodness, you libertarians or whomever you might be, whatever political ideology you might be. I cannot believe you're voting for this person, and he's such an awful human being, yada, yada, yada. Well, look at Kamala Harris. What are you voting for there? I feel like you're voting not Trump. That's the only legitimate reason to vote for Walls Harris, is that you've bought into the narrative of Trump and you've decided that you hate him so much, and maybe that's what they plan on leaning into in the next 70 days. I wonder if it happened to me, if it's happened to others, and how you reacted to it. Did you do what I did? I just could not help. When I saw the sign, I thought, man, I'm going to think differently of you. Can't help it. It's not going to impact how I interact with you socially, but it impacts how I think about you. It's 12:50. Steve and Brian will get to you in moments on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Do you have back pain right now? Does it hurt somewhere on your back? Maybe it's neck pain, more related to the upper spinal column. Perhaps it's knee pain where it hurts, hip pain, elbow pain. I can go all over the body, and we can talk about pain emanating all over the body. Bottom line is this. If you have the Dr. Gill Center in your life, they're going to help alleviate that pain. They're going to help make it better, and they don't have to have you popping pills to do it, and they don't have to have you taking needles to block it. And you don't need to consider surgery until you've talked with the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. At the Dr. Gill Center, they have been helping people get back to a pain-free life for well in excess of 30 years. And now with Dr. Wendy and Dr. Dominic, Dr. V, and the rest of the crew at the Chiropractic Care Center that is the Dr. Gill Center, they can help you now more readily than ever. They can get you in. Occasionally, if you call early enough, they can get you in same day, but certainly they'll get you in ASAP because they want to begin the process of alleviating that pain. And it's less than $50 for an appointment. You go in, you'll get a full appointment, you'll get x-rays, you'll get a diagnosis, and your first treatment right there on site at the Dr. Gill Center. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Call today, 615-882-4838, 882-4838, the Dr. Gill Center. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Evacuation orders have been issued in Alaska. We'll tell you why, and a 5-figure reward for a missing Tennessee team. That's all coming up at 1 p.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Jay Harper. You know, you guys think that we're only really hard at it, whether it's Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, Matt Murphy, Brian Wilson, while we're on the air. You probably think that we're sitting back and acting in a leisurely fashion while Jay's doing the news or while you hear some great commercial advertisements. No, I'm hard at it. Like just that last break, Bell, I was hard at work. Would you like to know what I was doing?
Yeah, because I think the laugh I'm going to get from it is going to be pretty good.
I was watching this video from from Sydney Harbor of people trying to eat. They got all these restaurants on Sydney Harbor in Australia.
Yeah.
And the seagulls are apparently as aggressive there as they are here. And so they have to give these restaurants that, you know, are on the dock, and you've got the beautiful view. You see the Sydney Opera House. I mean, the whole bit, the bridge. They have to give them these huge domes to put over their food.
So the seagulls don't come down
because otherwise the seagulls will just come in and just snatch it. Which reminded me of another story from this weekend. This was part of my best thing ever, worst thing ever for the weekend. Real quick. I developed a relationship with a lame goose. I was playing golf over at Ted Rhodes yesterday, and I'd never been to Ted Rhodes, and it's a nice joint for you golfers out there that have been. You probably know. It's an interesting layout. It was a 9-hole course for a long time. They expanded it years ago to an 18-hole, whatever. But there are a lot of geese on the course. And so the guy I was playing with had played 18 before us. His name is Jim. He's a regular listener to the show. Hello, Coop. Nice to see you. And Coop's telling us about this lame goose that like walked right up to him and tried to get his food. Well, we met the goose later on the golf course. And one of his wings, I felt bad for him because one of his wings were kind of, it was damaged to the point that it was obvious this goose will never be able to fly anymore, which is sad. But the goose has learned that he has to kind of depend on the kindness of strangers when it comes to food. And so he has become a little bit of a hobo, kind of a beggar. And it worked because I had a sandwich and I felt bad. And so I gave him some bread off my sandwich and I gave him a little more bread off my sandwich. And, you know, suddenly he's got half my sandwich.
You didn't make him a margarita?
No, I made him a crown and apple juice.
Of course.
But I used it's okay though, because I used the great value.
You used the Grey Goose.
I used the great value apple juice, so it's fine. All right, we'll get to you
out of his misery.
A lot of that's right. Poor fellow. I felt bad for him. And I learned something because he would not touch orange crackers. Wouldn't touch them. Ate the hell out of my bread, wouldn't touch orange crackers. All right, Stephen and Brian, we'll get to you momentarily. I promise I'll stop the fun and frivolity. We'll get back to Kamala Harris and the election that is on. I'm so excited about it. I cannot tell you how excited I am. A lot of you with suggestions about how to react to my neighbor putting up a Harris Walls sign in their front yard. Look, I ain't judging. I'm just judging. I can't help it. I feel like it's nature's way of telling us who's stupid and who's not. More coming up on that front as well. Plus, where's Andy Ogles? Honest question. Where's Andy Ogles? Why won't Andy Ogles return my telephone call? Is Andy Ogles okay? Blink twice if Andy's being held hostage. More in a moment. Jay Harper's News right now. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It's 1 minute past 1 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Plenty of sunshine, just keeps getting hotter. We are at 95 degrees now. Your forecast is coming up. Evacuation orders in place after a landslide turning deadly in Alaska. At least one person killed and 3 other people injured. Multiple homes and roads have been damaged. Officials there concerned there could be a second landslide. Here's ABC's meteorologist Samara Theodore.
Today, actually, as we head through Tuesday, we should see a little bit of a break, a reprieve. But Wednesday at 7 a.m., more rain from Katala to Juneau, right on down to Ketchikan. And as a result, through the end of the week, they could be in for more landslides.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, a $50,000 reward being offered for information in the disappearance of 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers. He's been missing from Hendersonville for 6 months now. The FBI's Memphis field office announcing that anyone who provides information leading to the location and return of the missing teen or to the arrest and conviction of those that may be responsible for his disappearance could receive a reward. Sebastian was last seen in February of this year in the area of Stafford Court in Hendersonville. At the time, he was wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and black square-frame glasses, according to officials. Sebastian has multiple medical conditions, including autism, which could impair his ability to return home safely. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
All right, you have just a few days left. Ladies and gentlemen, with USS on your side, they can help you conquer any issue that you have on the foundation of your home, or perhaps even waterproofing in your crawl space or your basement area. Well, right now, they have a very special opportunity for you. With same as cash options available, no payment, no interest for 1 year from a financing side of things, and this incredible opportunity. From now until August 30th, so just a few more days, you can receive 10% off any job over $2,500. So if you know that you have a major job on the horizon, let's get with it. Let's get an appointment scheduled with USS. All you need to do is schedule this appointment before August 30th, and you're all good. You'll get the promotion. Now, the promotion is not to be combined with any other coupon or previously discounted quotes because it's just that good, friends. 10% off any job over $2,500. Love it. Absolutely love it. And you'll love it as well. Let's go ahead and handle this situation and rest peacefully tonight, knowing that you've done so by making the call that so many others have made. 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855 for USS, United Structural Systems. Homeowners trust USS, and you will too. USSTN.com. Man, oh man, I lost several of you during the newscast on the phone lines, and I wanted to hear your solutions to my neighbor problem. Maybe you can give me a call back, 615-737-9986. Would love to hear from you on this Monday edition. Hour number 2 starts right now. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, hello, and hello. How you doing, Music City? Hope everyone's well. It's a beautiful one outside, albeit a little bit hot, and it should be. It's August 26th after all. 615-737-9986 is also the number where you can reach us on the membersnutrition.com super text line, and we would love if you did that as well. All right, discussing Trump v. Harris, and it's on, man. I mean, I cannot tell you how excited I am. I've waited for this since November of 2020. I've waited for this since then, and I feel like the game is on. I mean, much like football got cranked back up this Saturday, for those of you that love college football, I love college football. I'm not ashamed of that. I know that there are some of you that have drifted away from it, college or the NFL, but, you know, the Titans are back, baby. They're undefeated in the preseason. We've got a lot on the horizon in that regard. Brand new coach, new starting quarterback, all of those things. A new team, it feels like. College, same deal. Whether your college affiliation like mine is with my beloved Georgia Bulldogs or elsewhere, it was fun to see teams back on the gridiron. Dublin, Ireland, Georgia Tech versus Florida State. Loved seeing Florida State take a beating. I mean, so much like that, the game is on. You talk. There's talking season, and then there's doing season. And we are in doing season when it comes to moving the needle on this presidential race. And let me tell you something. As predicted by yours truly, Kamala Harris gets this bump once she becomes the nominee, and now it's like the balloon is leaking air, and there's nothing that they can do about it, because a lot of this so-called enthusiasm was fake enthusiasm. The media trumped it up. Oh, you can feel the joy in the room. You can feel the joy in the air. What joy are you people talking about? I'm going to feel the joy on November 5th of watching y'all get your brains beaten out in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Georgia for all of the crazy that you're throwing around the United States of America. And then Robert F. Kennedy Jr. throwing the truth bomb on Friday just got me more invigorated. And as I said on Friday, I miscalculated this. I did not know that it would be the impactful moment that it truly was. I said earlier in the week last week, I don't think this is going to move the needle that much. I do think it moves the needle. And when we say much, that's all relative, right? We only need a point or two. You move the needle a point in Wisconsin, a point in Pennsylvania, a point in Michigan, a point in Arizona, a point in Georgia. Come on now. That's huge. As I have said, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona, those 5 states and 125,000 people, roughly. Might be a little bit more than that, but that's my estimate, about 25,000 on average per. I think a couple of those states could come down to 10 or 15,000 votes. Really. Now, that's even taking into account the number of votes that the Democrats will try to steal. Know what I'm saying? Mail-in balloting, harvesting, and all of these things. So let's go. I am very pumped. We win on every major issue from an ideological standpoint. And I would even include, if the media is honest, we win on every major issue. Yes, abortion too. If the media is honest. Because an honest media would report that Donald Trump has no interest in enacting a federal abortion ban. And that's actually hurting him with some conservatives in his own party. But he doesn't have any interest in moving the needle on that. He is perfectly comfortable with where we are. We had Roe v. Wade as the quote-unquote law of the land, despite there was no law ever passed for 50 years. That is now in the dustbin of history. Dobbs v. Jackson replaces it, and Trump is comfortable with that, and he has said so repeatedly. Nobody's going after IVF. Only stupid people believe that, and no one's going after a national abortion ban. The momentum just doesn't exist. So even on that issue, which is probably the weakest issue for the Republicans win, if the media is honest. And here's the wonderful thing. My calculus several weeks ago, when Harris took over, I guess it's been, a month ago now? Thereabouts? When Joe Biden was dispatched of and Kamala Harris took over. And once again, I'm going to digress on this point. If it was a week without her sitting down for a sit-down interview, maybe that's just scheduling. If it was 2 weeks, now we're starting to get concerned. It has been a month. How do you justify this? You are a candidate for president of the United States of America. And you've not sat down with ABC friendly, NBC friendly, CBS friendly, hashtag Never CNN friendly, MSNBC friendly, New York Times friendly, Washington Post friendly. You want me to go on? Politico friendly, Axios friendly. You want me to go on? Over 90% of any of the major media organizations would be friendly to Kamala Harris for a sit-down one-on-one interview. And all of them want it. And yet they are refusing. Why? If you are a Democrat, if you're leaning left, if you're like my neighbor and you've decided to put up a stupid Harris Walls sign in your yard, Not that my neighbor's stupid. He seems like a nice enough guy. I just don't get it. I judge you. Chris writes in and says, and this is Chris, this is good. Chris writes in and says, I thought Alabama or Mississippi was charging an IVF clinic with murder due to their handling of embryos. Now, Chris, I'm not judging you, but I will say this is a great example of how misinformation in the mainstream media happens and how we have to correct it. Now, I want you to note that I'm not calling for anyone to be banned. I'm not calling for anyone to be censored here. The political left, when they hear information that is a little off or is against their candidate, they want to ban people. They want to stop speech. Their answer to bad speech is always less speech. My answer to bad speech is always more speech, never less. More speech, never less. Okay? So, let me explain this to you, Chris. Chris says, now Chris might be tongue-in-cheek, and I take that. I'm not knocking you, Chris. I thought Alabama or Mississippi was charging an IVF clinic with murder due to their handling of embryos. Here's what happened. An Alabama fertility clinic had a set of embryos, and one of their workers accidentally knocked over embryos and destroyed them. The person whose embryos it was sued the IVF clinic. Okay? Y'all with me so far? Saying, you destroyed our children, basically. Everything okay in there? You look concerned. All right. The Alabama couple said, you destroyed our embryos, and we can't get those back, and those are all that we have. And it was a bad situation for the family involved. Because of changes in language that kicked in after Dobbs v. Jackson, this case went all the way to the Alabama Supreme Court. And because of the changes in some of the language, and because certain language had not been repaired with regard to IVF fertility clinics, and their immunity from prosecution, the Alabama Supreme Court ruled that by definition, based on the new laws in the state of Alabama and based on Dobbs v. Jackson, that IVF embryos were technically considered human beings and that the fertility clinic could technically be sued in civil court. As a result, the IVF clinic wanted to shut down. They said, hey, we can't do this. If we're going to be sued, we destroy embryos all the time. Voluntarily and at the will of the consumer, meaning if a couple comes to a fertility clinic and they're trying to get pregnant and they eventually get pregnant, they might have stored embryos that they're no longer going to use, and they may choose to tell the clinic to destroy those embryos. But based on the Supreme Court ruling of the state of Alabama, those embryos could be considered human beings, and the fertility clinic said, wait a minute, we could be considered liable for this? We're not doing this. We're going to be criminally liable for killing someone because we destroyed embryos? And everyone involved recognized, after the Alabama Supreme Court ruling came out, everyone involved recognized it was something of a loophole that had been created because of Dobbs v. Jackson and because of language that had been previously written in the state of Alabama. And so the Alabama legislature immediately went and they repaired the situation, and they passed legislation that did so. So there is no issue in Alabama, Mississippi, or any other state in the United States of America regarding fertility clinics or IVF. None. The political left is lying to you when they say that that's the case. They're lying to you. On every major issue in this campaign, our team wins. Tell me I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, then why has Kamala Harris flip-flopped on fracking? If I'm wrong, why has she flip-flopped generally on energy? Why has she flip-flopped on offshore drilling? Why has she flip-flopped on every major energy policy save Keystone XL pipeline? Something that her boss, Joe Biden, shut down as soon as he went into power. And that she supported. Remember, last person in the room. unless Trump and the Republicans are right on the immigration issue, why is it that Kamala Harris is actually trying to change her record on that too? Did you see, by the way, they were running an ad over the weekend, Bell, that Kamala Harris was touting that she was strong on southern border security?
Yeah, and they were showing sections of the wall that Trump had built.
I mean, they're showing sections of the wall that they steadfastly opposed, that they held up for a year and a half, almost 2 years, because they wouldn't fund the wall, that Kamala Harris repeatedly opposed, and that Joe Biden ran against. They ran on the promise that they would destroy the wall. And now she's running campaign ads showing Trump's wall. And actually, the mainstream media is calling her out on it, believe it or not. It's so bad that Jonathan Karl of ABC actually called her out on it. I'm telling you, these guys are only going to take being treated like chumps for so long by Harris and her team. Listen to this. This is Bernie talking with Jonathan Karl of ABC this week.
But if you take a look at that ad, one thing that I found striking is if you look, and I think we have the images here, there are at least 3 points in that ad that show the border wall, Donald Trump's border wall. Is it now the position of the Democrats that they favor the border wall?
We don't need to build a wall. And by definition, just plain speak, basic English language definition, it is not an emergency.
You know, he talks about this wall. I always say, let me know how high it is. If it's 25 feet, then I'll invest in the 30-foot ladder.
To suggest that we have to build a wall across our southern border because there are terrorists who are trying to invade the country, it couldn't be farther from the truth. It couldn't be farther from the truth.
I mean, does she not, pardon me, does she not at some point have to answer to this? She was against the border wall. She laughed at people that suggested that terrorists would exploit this open border policy and come into the country. All of it has come true. Do you understand why I believe that every bit of enthusiasm that so many of my conservative friends, and let me tell you, a lot of them were wringing their hands before the DNC. Oh, my goodness, we're in trouble. Oh, Trump's off message. Trump's off message. What the hell are y'all talking about? We're just getting warmed up. The game just started, guys. The pep rallies happen. Republicans had their pep rally first. Democrats finished up their pep rally last week. You see any residual excitement after their pep rally? No. The only thing we're talking about is RFK Jr. endorsing Trump. Now, Stephen wants to talk about mixers, and I'm getting him in here before the break because he's been holding for so long. Hello, Stephen.
How you doing?
I'm great, Stephen. I hope you are.
Oh, I am. I'm just about to my delivery here in Bowling Green, but you like sweet tea?
Well, I love sweet tea, Stephen.
All right. What about Southern Comfort?
Well, I'm a big fan of Southern Comfort.
Mix them together. You'll have an awful good drink right there.
All right, Stephen, I'm suspending the rest of the radio broadcast and heading to the liquor store now. Thank you. Any particular brand of sweet tea?
I prefer Louisiana sweet tea myself.
Oh, well. If you'd have said Milo's, I would have stopped what I was doing just to find you and hug your neck. But you didn't, so I get it. Enjoy the delivery, Stephen, and thank you. It is actually a beverage that I have consumed in the past, and I can tell you from personal experience, it's quite nice. Of course, I was drinking sweet tea and vodka long before they created sweet tea vodka. Have you been, I hesitate to ask this question to Bell, have you been to the liquor store lately?
Well, after last week, I don't need to go for a while.
Oh, well.
And I have, but yeah, I did. I have been.
You
recently.
perused down the vodka aisle?
Nah, I don't really drink vodka, so not really.
It is insane.
Have you been down the whiskey aisle?
Well, I mean, that's insane too. And that's all well and good, but now the flavored stuff is spilling over to the whiskeys. It's out of control. I don't begrudge it. It's free market capitalism. It is what it is. It is out of control.
I don't need peanut butter whiskey. It's unnecessary.
Peanut butter whiskey is pretty good.
It's not unnecessary.
I understand that. What flavors will you abide?
whiskey-flavored whiskey.
What about cinnamon? No?
I don't.
You're not even giving me cinnamon?
I don't need candy in my whiskey.
I like to tell people that I drink Jack Fire when I want to feel like a girl. 23 after the hour. Do your challenges hearing conversation keep you on the sidelines when you're having dinner with family and friends? Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and I want to tell you about Brentwood Hearing Center. For almost 40 years, their doctors of audiology have helped provide tailored solutions to patients of all ages. You know, hearing loss obviously knows no age. Sometimes, sadly, folks wait for years thinking that their hearing will repair itself or it will get better. It will not get better, folks. Obviously, you know, some people experience this earlier than others, but as you get older, you lose your hearing naturally. My friends at Brentwood Hearing Center represent all different styles and manufacturers. They can find the right hearing solution for you. And one of the things I like about Ronnie and his team is that they're not bound by one style or this or that. They're going to find the right one that's for you and for your lifestyle. So let me tell you, if you're hesitating going out to a ball game, if you're hesitating scheduling, you know, a trip to Knoxville or wherever it might be to watch football or whatnot, friends, don't hesitate. Give our buddies at Brentwood Hearing Center a call at 615-377-0420 and visit them at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. Let's get off the sidelines. Let's get off the bench. Let's get back in the game with Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing for a better life.
It is the third anniversary of the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan that cost American lives. The White House commenting on that today, and a rise in mosquito-borne illnesses. We'll have those stories at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper. 615-737-9986. If you'd like to get on board on a Monday edition of the Matt Murphy Show, just walking through where we are in terms of the election right now. I was actually just about to repost something so I could get it up for public consumption here on the airwaves. 128 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So I'm very pumped because I do believe on every major issue, if we deal with issues and and I understand this is a big if we deal with an honest media, that our team wins on these issues. Every one of them. Every one of them. And if I'm wrong, I'd be happy to hear it, because I would love to know what weakness there is in the platform. If you are voting for Kamala Harris, you're either voting for socialism, or you're voting for a weakened America, or you're voting against Trump. I mean, you're voting emotionally. You're perhaps engaged in a personality contest, and your own predisposition gravitates you toward the personality of Kamala Harris beyond Donald Trump, or whatever. I mean, but you're not voting on the issues. I don't feel like you're voting on the issues. I don't know how you could be if you have all of the facts in front of you. And so here we are, and I've failed to mention it almost an hour and a half into the program. Here we are at the anniversary of the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. It says a lot about the dishonesty of liberal Democrats that they can't take a loss and move on, that they are attempting to, yet again, rewrite history when it comes to this event. They are suggesting somehow that it was all Donald Trump's fault, that somehow Donald Trump did all of this almost a year into Joe Biden's tenure as president of the United States. Now, Donald Trump was determined, in my opinion, rightly so, to get us out of Afghanistan, because staying in Afghanistan and nation building was a fool's errand. Was it important to root out the terrorists and kill them? Of course. Had we done so? Yes. More terrorists pop up? Of course. That's what they do. Sadly, in that region of the world, terrorism seems to grow like weeds in my backyard, popping up seemingly overnight. And we stamped them out for long enough and secured our borders here at home and stamped out organizations like ISIS and Al-Qaeda and others to the point that it made sense to come on home. But not like Joe Biden did it. And I'm elephantine when it comes to these things. You witnessed it. I witnessed it. We all witnessed it. The Afghani people hanging on aircraft, desperately attempting to leave the country with the United States military. The military going first. Thousands of people, Americans and American supporters alike, were left behind in Afghanistan to fend for themselves. We had to send personally funded transport over there. Individuals gave money from their own bank accounts to fund getting people out of Afghanistan because our president of the United States of America, Joseph Biden, and Kamala Harris as vice president wouldn't do it. They failed the United States military. And Joe Biden couldn't manage to receive the bodies without looking at his watch. Don't you tell me for a second that this was on Donald Trump, although that's what the mainstream media and the Democrats are trying to do today. Meanwhile, Joe Biden's on vacation again. Where's Joe? I think he's in Rehoboth Beach. He spent like 6 days on vacay in California. Now he's spending 9 days on vacay. Who is president of the United States of America right now? Who? 132, Super Talk 99.7, WTN.
Good afternoon. It is 1:32, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got plenty of sun, 95 degrees, a full forecast coming up. On the third anniversary of the death of 13 U.S. service members during the country's withdrawal from Afghanistan, White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby saying the administration will continue to work and honor the sacrifices of those that were lost that day.
They embody the very best of who we are as a country, brave, committed, selfless. And we owe them and their families a sacred debt that we'll never really be able to fully repay, but that we can never stop trying to do so.
We now turn to the Northeast, where many New England towns are on alert as mosquito-borne illnesses are on the rise. ABC's Dave Packer has more.
Massachusetts reporting its first case of eastern equine encephalitis in 4 years. The virus spread by mosquitoes. Plymouth, Massachusetts closing parks and fields at dusk. Other towns urging people to avoid going outdoors at night during peak mosquito activity. The CDC says although most people who get the Triple E virus have no symptoms, a small percentage develop brain inflammation, and about a third of those people will die.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy until 3, The Drive with Brian Wilson at that time. Thank you for being with us on the Matt Murphy Show. I appreciate every single moment with you. Thank you for following us on a variety of social media platforms as well. Whether you're watching on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, we appreciate that. Maybe you're following along with the show from an audio perspective on a streaming platform. Thank you for that. Or you're listening on 99.7 FM. One way or the other, I would love for you to do this. Go over to the X machine. Did you see, I think we're going to reach 15,000 by my birthday. I hope. We are 15 from 15, Bell.
1,500 from...
We are 15 followers from 15,000 followers.
Oh, you'll have that by the end of the show.
And and obviously you have generously donated 30 minutes of Spicy, the Support Cobra's time, to the 15,000th follower.
That would be incorrect.
At Matt Murphy Show on the X machine. Go at Matt Murphy Show. MATTMURPHYSHOW.
Are you paying for the liability insurance for that promotion?
Well, I'll work on Bell, guys. Don't worry about any of this. He has all of these questions. They make no sense, nonsense about liability and venom. And over the weekend, he was sending me information about anti-venom and how it doesn't work and how cobras will, whatever. He has donated 30 minutes of Spicy's time to you if you're the 15,000th follower of the Matt Murphy Show on Twitter.
I have not done that. And your pushback is always, whatever.
It's fine. He'll be fine. It'll work out, guys. Just don't worry. You have my commitment that everything will work out just fine. Anyway, follow us at Matt Murphy Show. At Matt Murphy Show. You can follow us on all of the other socials as well. So, don't get me started. I could do the rest of the show on the 13th, the 13 people, soldiers who died in Afghanistan 3 years ago. And the spin on the part of the Democrats with regard to how all of this happened. Let's make no mistake. Donald Trump recognized the importance and, well, not even importance. Let me strike that word and replace it with another. Donald Trump, as our 45th president of the United States, understood the futility of attempting to build a nation that was not recognized by the people that lived there. Afghanistan isn't really recognized by most of the people that live there as a nation unto itself. These are tribal people who separate themselves mostly along religious lines, Muslim sect lines, Sunnis and Shiites, etc., Kurds. And they don't recognize, or at least they recognize only as artificial, the quote-unquote territorial boundaries of Afghanistan. They also don't understand freedom in the same fashion that we do. And a lot of that has to do with the radicalization of their religious faith. But, that's an entirely different subject for another day. We were attacked on September 11th, 2001, and a recognition of that attack merited a response. And respond we did. And rightly or wrongly, say what you will, part of the response was to go into Afghanistan, individuals that gave safe harbor to Osama bin Laden and others, and we were going to hold those individuals to account, and we did, and we have. A recognition that any future efforts in that region would come to nothing, meaning you only stabilize that region so long as you have military control over said region. And once you lose that military control, you lose the region. Well, then what are we doing? We are spilling blood and sweat and tears to no avail. And Donald Trump understood that too. There's no shame in that recognition, except in as much as we have spent a tremendous amount of money and a tremendous amount of years trying to deny that basic truth. I do not believe that there is any shame whatsoever in deciding that it's time to withdraw our boots on the ground in Afghanistan, and I was fully in favor of it. As a matter of fact, for those that have listened to me for lengths of time, you know that since 2015, I have been in favor of ending our relationship in that region of the world, fortifying our relationships in other parts of the world to make sure that a terrorist footprint will not be expanded beyond that region, and making sure that they understand that any effort to harm America or American interests will be met with force and finality. And Donald Trump was doing that. And we've much talked about his meeting with one of the Taliban leaders, and this was while he was still president of the United States, while they were attempting to formulate a withdrawal plan. Donald Trump said, you will not harm any one of our Americans. From now until the point that we withdraw, there will be no harm come to Americans, American interests, American allies. And if you harm any of our allies, I will kill you. It has been a well-documented moment in time where Donald Trump said, as president of the United States of America, to representatives of Afghan leadership, Taliban leadership, I will kill you. And I know exactly where you are. And lo and behold, nary an American hair on nary an American head was harmed. And then an election happened, and Joe Biden became president of the United States. And Joe Biden, who infamously claimed that not one soldier has been killed on his watch, watched as 13 soldiers were killed because of the disaster that was the Afghanistan pullout. And now they're trying to rewrite history. Well, we won't let them. And by the way, their current candidate for president of the United States, the one that replaced the failure of a candidate in the form of Joe Biden, she had a few things to say about Afghanistan as well.
Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
And you feel comfortable?
I do.
Dozens were killed when multiple bombs went off near Kabul's Hamid Karzai airport Thursday.
We know that at least 13 U.S. service members were killed in the blast.
He claimed that on his watch, we have not lost any American troops. The lives of no American troops have been lost as long as he's been president. Obviously, that is not true. Apparently, he's already forgotten about the 13 American heroes who were lost with his disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. These are their names, Mr. President. These are their names. Marine Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover. Marine Sergeant Johanny Rosario Pichardo. Marine Sergeant Nicole G. Marine Corporal Hunter Lopez. Marine Corporal Dagan Page. Marine Corporal Humberto Sanchez. Marine Lance Corporal David Espinoza. Marine Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz. Marine Lance Corporal Riley McCollum. Marine Lance Corporal Dylan Marola. Marine Lance Corporal Kareem Nakui. Navy Petty Officer 3rd Class Maxton Soviak. Army Staff Sergeant Ryan Knaus. We will honor their memory.
That video and audio was brought out by the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, to commemorate the loss of 13 Americans whose names he just read to you. The President of the United States infamously in his debate on June 27th said that we had not lost anyone under his watch. A part of the video put out by the Speaker of the House included, and you could not see it obviously if you're listening on radio, it included Joe Biden standing on the tarmac looking at his watch. 3 years ago. 3 years ago. Now, I suppose that you and I could get into a debate about whether or not we should have been in Afghanistan. And I suppose that you and I could get into a debate if we disagree on some of these matters about when we should have left Afghanistan or if we should have left Afghanistan. And that's perfectly reasonable. There is no debate about how this happened. There is no debate that it was an absolute disaster. And any leftist or Democrat, but I repeat myself, that attempts to put lipstick on this pig is doing just that. This was awful. On its face, it was awful. The very fact that we lost 13 brave Americans, that's awful. But if you dig beneath the surface just a little bit, if you peel back a couple of additional layers to the onion, just a little bit, you'll learn that it gets even worse. At the time, we knew that hundreds of Americans, maybe even thousands of Americans, were being left behind. Now, once again, I'm willing to academically debate all of this with you, any of you. But the fact of the matter is, the United States of America made commitments. We made commitments to the people in that country, non-Americans in that country. We told them that they have our word. That if they assisted us, that we would be there for them on the back end. I'm talking about, and I get emotional when I talk about this, assets on the ground. People who were not blessed to be born in this country. People who had the burden of being born in a war-torn region. A region of the world that does not understand freedom in the same fashion that we understand it. But those individuals did. There were Afghanis that took America's side and took us at our word that we would be there for them, that they would not be harmed. And we left those people to die. Obviously, we think about our military friends. Obviously, we think about the members of the military, the soldiers and others, the Marines that died that day. And God bless them and their families. But I also, in a larger sense, think about the hundreds, if not thousands of people who assisted the United States of America, who took up arms against terrorists, who helped us in that region of the world, who mapped out places for us, who told us where the bad guys were, who translated for us, who were slaughtered because of Joe Biden. Slaughtered. It's disgusting. A little callback here. I wouldn't treat a mouse that way. And Joe Biden just sat in his office and allowed it to happen because he did the one thing you can't do. You don't pull the military out before you get the civilians out. You dumbass. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. You dumb butt. Is that better? I shouldn't curse. I get upset about it. These high-level, I know I've got to go to a break. These high-level negotiations, you're talking about assets on the ground that are vital to the interests that we say we seek. And you look them, our men and our women in the United States military looked them in the eye and they said, you do this for us, my friend, and we've got your back. You help us out, and we will not betray you. And because of Joe Biden, we did. And it's sick that anybody would believe Kamala Harris today about anything having to do with Afghanistan. And she is proud of the fact that she was the last person in the room. We'll be back in a moment. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy. We talk a lot about the Glock store over here on the Matt Murphy Radio Show because it's the best place to buy a Glock, best place to learn how to use a Glock, best place to shoot a Glock, best place to compete. once you do all the first three, you can start doing number 4, and that's competitions. But you don't have to have any experience whatsoever to party at the Glock store. And they want you to know that as fall, approaches, they are the place to party at the Glock store. Now, maybe you've seen the billboards on the Glock store and partying at the Glock store, and I understand that maybe you don't think party, 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 and guns, guns, guns in together, but you can. You can, because they've got VIP rooms galore, and they've got a full kitchen, a dedicated shooting room. They have an instructor waiting for you, shooting activities designed for every shooting level at the Glock store when you schedule your party at the Glock store. Party@theglockstore.com is the website, as a matter of fact. How about that? Party at Glock store. I shouldn't add the "the." Party@glockstore.com. That's party@glockstore.com. Include the day and time and number of people when you email, and they'll come up with a great party just for you. Minutes away from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. They've got Glocks galore. They've got other handguns, long guns as well. They are the place to learn, the place to shoot, and the place to party. One and only Glock store.
Good afternoon. It's 2 p.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Sunny and hot, 95 degrees, a weather forecast coming up. While on tour of his battleground states this week, Donald Trump delivering remarks to the National Guard Association of the United States in Detroit today, talking about his commitment to the armed forces as president.
I'm thrilled to be here in Detroit with the incredible men and women of our National Guard. Very special people. I've had no greater honor in life than to serve as your commander-in-chief.
In other stories, while NASA and Boeing deal with the troubled Starliner capsule, SpaceX is set to make history tomorrow morning. ABC's Alex Stone reports about what is, however, to unfold tonight.
What's called the Polaris Dawn mission is set to launch 4 private citizens into ultra-high orbit and attempt the first civilian spacewalk led by a billionaire named Jared Isaacman. And working with SpaceX, the crew plans to go 870 miles above Earth, the highest of any human space flight since the Apollo missions. During the 5-day trip, 2 of the crew members are planning to exit the spacecraft 435 miles above Earth as part of a test of SpaceX's new spacesuits.
Back here in Nashville, police were on the scene of a standoff situation at a home in East Nashville on Carter Street earlier this morning. Police initially arrived to the home on a burglary call and discovered the suspect was still inside the home. After a standoff situation, it was later resolved peacefully. It remains unclear what charges the suspect faces at this time. Additional details not released just yet. That is the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Efficient Heating and Cooling. Efficient Heating and Cooling is a small company with big results and big service in their minds. I trust Jeff Eddy and his entire crew to do what's right, and they have proved it time and time and time again. If you're trying to make a decision whether to replace or repair your system, allow Jeff Eddy to help you. Jeff Eddy can assist with all of those needs. They can help you make that decision and explain why they would offer the advice that they do regarding whether to replace or repair your system. Now, if you can repair it and you can get through this season and perhaps get you to next year, well, they'll do that. Obviously, the AC is working hard today because it's very, very hot. If not, they're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem, and they can offer you wonderful recommendations about which way you ought to go, and they have financing options available for you as well. Jeff Eddy keeps that overhead down by keeping invoices low. He does that by never charging you overtime rates. Ask him about that, and you never pay more than $125 for any tune-up, any maintenance call to a residence with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling, and oftentimes you pay a lot less. 615-784-4424, 784-4424 for Efficient Heating and Cooling, online at efficienthvac.net. You know, oftentimes, by the way, it's the Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We enter hour number 3. Thank you for being with us on this Monday. It is Locks for Trump Day 177. That's right, they're getting quite lengthy, my locks. Not nearly as long as Bell K's, but none of you would know that because Bell K chooses not to be on video. It's why we call him Headless Bell on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, at least during my portion of the day. So we've got Super Talk TV up and running, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. If you want to see my locks, you can do it there. You can also like us and follow us over there. And by the way, speaking of liking us and following us, I have an official announcement, Bell. Can I get a bam, 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 or something that sounds official? Thank you. I have an official announcement. Oh, no, I just lost my official announcement. Oh, here it is. Here it is. We have now not only met, but we now have well exceeded 15,011 followers. And we have 15,011 followers now. And that's like 25 more than we had at the beginning of the show. And I mentioned that we could get to 15,000 today. We were 15 to 15 and we've, just blown by that. So thank you all. Follow me and I promise I'll make you laugh on occasion. Am I not a pretty good follow, Bell? I feel like I'm a pretty good follow.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's why I constantly retweet your stuff, even though you ignore mine completely.
I ignore yours on purpose because you begged me to remain incognito on the social media.
No. I've never begged you to do that. I've told you that I simply don't use my Twitter to promote myself.
Okay. You don't use your Twitter
on behalf of the company.
You use your Twitter for evil, and everyone knows it.
Maybe.
So I got to find her again. I had, by my math, here she is. By my math, I have our official 15,000th follower. Bell, you officially owe a 30-minute visit with Spicy, the emotional support cobra. By the way, I should note that I've never been allowed to be in the room with Spicy, the emotional support cobra either. Sure as hell not by myself, nor do I think I would, but Susan Bennett, it's up to you. Susan, congratulations. Susan, a.k.a. at DillPickles04. Her Twitter handle is at DillPickles. The best part about that is I bet she wanted to just be at DillPickles.
And somebody already had it?
Apparently 3 people already had it at least because she's at DillPickles04. And she just followed us. And Susan, thank you so much for being our 15,000th follower. You know what? In honor of you being our 15,000th follower, I'm going to go ahead and follow you back, Susan. There you go. That's a big deal for you because you only have 7 of them. Let's see. I've joined her following list that includes a lot of probably a lot of trolls. So anyway, there you go. Susan, thank you for following us, and you can follow us as well at Matt Murphy Show. We appreciate you. Jason wants to know if it's a spitting cobra. Yes, maybe. Jason also wanted to know if the VIP rooms at the Glock store are topless. Did you see my answer to that question?
Actually, I didn't. Let me look here real quick.
I said they are when I'm there. I don't know about any other time, but when I'm there, they're topless. Okay, one of the more amusing side notes, and this is really, I got sidetracked in the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour, and I want to get back to it. I've made my case on the issue of Afghanistan, and it is an absolute shame. Joe Biden is not or was not a commander-in-chief. He abandoned our people. Kamala Harris abandoned our people. She was the last person in the room. We hung our allies in Afghanistan out to dry. Who would ever trust us again? We hung the United States military out to dry. 13 service members lost their lives. Any number of individuals were wounded, and I failed to mention the number of wounded people that happened on that day, August 26th, 2024. There are, I will tell you, and this, I concur with Jason's comment, who wrote on the Super Talk text line, which sadly has decided it's not going to work right now. But anyway, I think I can remember for the most part what Jason said, and I share this that Jason said, I'm almost 50 years old. I am almost 51 years old. And I have two images. I could probably think of one of two or two more of a more positive note, but there are two images sheared and seared permanently in my brain. One of them involves people jumping from the Twin Towers on 9/11. And for me, Jason mentioned the jumping. For me, the jumping was a consequence of the decision-making. And for me, the memory that sears in my brain is not the jumpers, as they're called. There are a couple of images of people. I get choked up when I think about it. Who are hanging out of the buildings trying to get help, either because of smoke or for whatever reason they are clinging to the exterior of the building, and you can see them out of the building. And there's one image in particular, and it's a woman, and she has a red top on. I remember it's like a faded red. And there's a look on her face of recognition that there are no more options. I think about that, too, when I think about the people who clung to the United States military aircraft that took off from Bagram Air Force Base. And they fell off. I don't know if they had some sort of fantastical idea that they could cling to the landing gear to the point that the aircraft landed in Germany or wherever it eventually went. But can you imagine being in a situation where the best case scenario is to cling to an aircraft that's taking off on the exterior of the aircraft?
Can you imagine being that desperate? I mean, literally, where you think your better option is to grab onto a moving airplane that's about to go 35,000 feet in the air.
And maybe in a 1 in a million chance, 1 in a gajillion chance, maybe a 1 in a nothing chance you survive it. I don't know. And then I think about what led us to that moment, and I think about the commitments that America made. And you can say all you want about the world being a hard place and decisions have to be made in the best benefit of the United States. And I get all of those things. I just cannot abide America not living up to our word. It's just maddening. Was it Kabul? Yeah, it was Kabul. My bad. I said Bagram, and I apologize, 3225, if it was Kabul Airport. My bad. I thought it was Bagram, but obviously I'm mistaken.
Now, the big stink was that we abandoned Bagram before.
Right. That's right. He left Bagram, and then Kabul was left. You're right. Yeah. And then this idea that they would spin it to the benefit of Kamala Harris and pretend that it was Trump's responsibility? No, not on my watch. Not to mention obviously the billions and billions and billions of wasted dollars there, and the billions and billions and billions of dollars of equipment and vehicles, not just left there, but left there and handed to what is now our enemy, the Taliban. Now, the Taliban doesn't do too much to get out of line because I think maybe they fear a return to a Trump foreign policy initiative. It remains to be seen. And then there's this, and I don't want to get too far away from it, and I'll get to your calls and all of that in just a moment, 615-737-9986. It's an unrelated topic, but one that it's a question more than a topic, a question that I've been asking for some time now. Where is Andy Ogles? I mean, where is he? I ask this question equally as a host and a constituent. I mean, I just voted for you, Andy. I went to my voting location at Charlie Daniels Park, and I pulled up and I walked through and I talked to those folks and I went down into the gymnasium and I pressed my buttons and got my printout and put my printout in the thing and refused my sticker and got looked at funny and walked through the little train station room where the little model train station is and all back out into the sunshine. I did my job as a constituent, but also as a host of a radio show, a fairly popular radio show in Nashville, Tennessee, and beyond throughout Middle Tennessee. We feel like we have an obligation to present our elected representatives to the general public. And so in the aftermath of the FBI confiscating his phone, I reached out to Andy on several occasions, and I've noted that, and several of you have noted, well, Murphy, he doesn't have his phone. By the way, that's not how that works. They don't keep your phone forever. They copy your phone and they give it back to you, which is what I suspect has happened to Andy. But I can't get him to call me back, and I can't get him to text me back, and so we downshift and we contact his press people. He has a press secretary. He has a communications person. All of these Congress people do. And I communicated last week with Emma in his office. She was in Hawaii. I think she was on vacay, but she was nice enough to say that she was going to get back to me, and she did not get back to me. Now, I'm not casting aspersions. I'm not counting anybody out, and I'm not suggesting that any of these are bad people. What I am suggesting is that the people in the 5th Congressional District deserve to hear from their representative, especially during election time. I mean, should be all the time, but you would think that Andy would be even more aggressively available during election season. Now, a little backstory for you newbies in the audience. I won't belabor the point because I've told the story in the past. Andy and I got sideways in 2022 when he was running in the Republican primary because of the issues that he's currently under investigation for. I was told during the spring of 2020 that Andy had not raised nearly the amount of money that he claimed that he had raised. And I brought that point up on my radio show, and I challenged Andy to answer to these questions. And Andy, in turn, refused to come back on my show. It took over a year to get him back on. Well, I say over a year. It was about a year. Is that about right, Bill? Is that fair?
Yeah, it's somewhere between 10 months or so to a year.
And eventually we mended fences, and in the spirit of getting the best and most valuable information to the 5th Congressional District, we had him back on the show. I just don't understand why Andy Ogles seems to be hiding. And maybe that's not what he's doing. But he seems to be Waldo right now, as John has put it. 4364 says, Andy can't call you. He got his phone seized. Stop it. I mean, I hope you're joking. I mean, I assume that's a joke. Because they don't keep your phone permanent. As someone who has had his phone seized, I was a party to a lawsuit in Birmingham. And a judge ordered me to turn over my phone. It was a civil suit now. This was no criminal accusation. I don't know what Andy's being accused of doing, but it was a civil suit. And I was ordered to turn my phone over, and I had to turn my phone over. And they kept it for an afternoon, and they copied everything on the phone, and they gave it back to me. I just... after voting for him in the primary, and it was a fairly, Courtney Johnston was not going to beat Andy necessarily, but she ran a fairly competitive race. She had a lot of money raised, and Andy ran some ads, and she ran some ads, and Andy, endorsed by Trump. And look, I have not had a problem with Andy Ogles' voting record. I have a very big problem with a sitting representative disappearing because he doesn't want to answer questions about why the FBI is answering so many questions about what the hell happened in 2022 when he claimed to have lended himself $300,000 in campaign funds, and turns out he never did that. which ought to be a simple fine and a slap on the wrist. I don't know. Maybe they're vilifying Andy for another reason. Maybe something else is going on. A lot of these questions would be answered if Ogles would agree to come on the show. And it ain't just me. In my conversations with Dan Mandis, in my conversations with Brian Wilson, I don't know what the nature of their efforts are, but it's my understanding they're getting zero response as well. So it ain't just this humble correspondent. It's everybody, which leads me to believe that maybe there's something else going on. And it makes me wonder how much, I'm just asking, I'm not saying, I'm asking. It makes me wonder how much representation we're really getting in the 5th Congressional District. It's 21 after the hour on Super Talk. Now there are some people suggesting that we've got Spicy, the emotional support cobra, and we've got Savory Spice, the company that I love so much, and that maybe we could create some connective tissue and have, a Savory Spicy endorsed line of product at Savory Spice. I don't know. I don't know where that would go. I know this. Holly and David are great folk. They're good people, and they've got tailgating season on the horizon. Man, it's here, actually. It's here. And if you're not tailgating with Savory Spice, you're doing it wrong. May I be the one to say. I mean, because I know some of the great spices that they have for grilling, for chicken, for ribs, for burgers, for hot dogs, whatever you're grilling, they've got something to sprinkle on top of that to make it even better at Savory Spice. I mean, if you're just putting the meat on there and salt and pepper, you're doing it wrong, because they've got some delicious flavors at Savory Spice just for you and just for your tailgate, and you can find them all right there on location, Franklin, Tennessee, in the square, right next to Gray's Pharmacy. They also have a location at Elladale Market in Nashville and Charlotte Pike. So they got all of those great grilling ideas. They, of course, got the tailgating ideas. And they have other ideas for you in the kitchen as well. If you don't know your way around the kitchen, they've got the Spice and Easy line, which makes it so easy. They'll tell you exactly what to buy at the grocery store, and all of your spices are conveniently right there in the package that they sell you. How about that? And so you just put it together, leave it, and you have a delicious meal for you and your family. Savory Spice, Holly and David, local owned, local operated, and I love them. I love them both, and I love the products that they give you. 2 locations, one's in Nash and the other in Franklin. Tell them I sent you to Savory Spice.
A vice presidential candidate making a campaign stop in Music City tomorrow. And new direct flights announced from BNA to some popular destinations. We'll fill you in on all of that at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is the Dentist to Newscast coming up in mere moments on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So, Bell, you got any guesses? Who do you think it is? Who do you think it is?
Let's see. Kamala's not going to waste her time in the state. J.D. Vance is here.
Kamala is not the vice presidential candidate either.
Oh, that's right. Why would Walz be coming here?
It could be. You never know. I don't feel like Jay Harper would be hyping this up if it were like the Libertarian Party vice presidential candidate.
It's got to be J.D. Vance.
It's got to be J.D., doesn't it?
Just here to make sure the troops are
maybe it's
excited.
Walz. Maybe Walz is coming into town trying to convince Tennessee that I'm a regular guy just like y'all. I just destroyed lives and businesses during COVID and threatened to put people in jail.
Socialism to be neighborly.
Mind your own damn business. You said you had some audio for us.
Yes.
All right, give it to me.
This is brilliant.
Just without comment.
Okay. You don't want me to tell what it is?
Oh, okay. You should probably tell it.
It's a Trump ad. It's a 30-second Trump ad.
Okay. Let's go. Trump ad.
This is brilliant.
Let's go.
Everyday prices are too high. Food, rent, gas, back to school clothes. That is called Bidenomics. A loaf of bread costs 50% more today. Ground beef is up almost 50%. There's not much left at the end of the month. Bidenomics is working. The price of housing has gone up. It feels so hard to just be able to get ahead. And we are very proud of Bidenomics.
So
it's done in a format of her debating herself.
So it's when you see her on one side and her on the other side. And so you get Kamala saying, "Oh, food's too high." That's Bidenomics. Gas too high. Bidenomics. Rent's too high. Bidenomics. I mean, you play the clip all the time and you're messing with me, but at the same time, it's true. I mean, you feel
it's
like
100% true.
Joe and Kamala, we did what we came to do.
It's literally like prices are out of control. You're welcome.
Michael wants to speak on the missing Andy Ogles of the 5th Congressional District. Hello, Michael.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Doing good.
Hey, you said, well, where's he at? So I called the congressional switchboard, and I got his secretary, and all she would say was he was at home in the district spending time with his family.
Huh.
That's all she would say.
I mean, I guess he doesn't have his phone with him because I've repeatedly reached out. I mean, do you have any thought on this? I mean, does it bother you? I mean, I'm not an enemy here. I'm just a friendly. I just want to ask him.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, I'm with you. No, I voted for the man, and I'm kind of wondering that myself. When you asked that question, I thought, well, I'll just call his office and see what they say.
Look. So I mean, and here's the bottom line, Mike. And thank you for that. Well, I'm glad you did. Thank you for calling. Thank you for listening, and thank you for calling us and letting us know that you called Andy and what you got in return, which was he's spending time with his family in his district. I guess that's going around. I hear Mark Green's doing that. Actually, that's very sad. I shouldn't make a joke about that. Have you heard? Apparently, I don't know. Actually, I don't want to say. I don't know if it's public or not. I don't know if it's public or not yet.
Yeah, tell me off the air.
Oh, well. There's no, I feel like I need to repair it in this way. With Congressman Mark Green, there's no health issue that I'm aware of that's going on with him and his family. But there's a private matter that's going on with him and his family that I found out about this weekend. I think it's public, but I'm not sure. So I'm not going to say because I'm not that guy. I'm not going to go there. That is what it is. That said, Andy's is very much of a public concern. And I mean, if you put yourself in this position, look, Andy has admitted that he made a mistake, right? He's admitted that a clerical error happened with regard to how money was or was not transferred from his account to this account. And I mean, I'm reminded of, did you ever see the old Kevin Hart bit when he's running with basketball players and they're spending
yeah, he's trying to keep up with them on the expenditures.
Now, guys, I don't think you understand. I got a checking and I got a savings.
And I got to transfer money from my savings.
I got to move my money from a checking to my savings. And so I'm not going to be able to cover it right now. I'm just not going to be able to do it.
He's getting bottles. I'm getting bottles.
Right. So, I mean, that's what I figured that Andy's doing right now. He's, I had to check in the savings and then why not come on the radio and defend yourself? If you're being wrongly accused, if the FBI is coming at you, wouldn't you? All right, we'll get into this in just a moment. It's 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yes, it is 2:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top story. Sunshine, it just keeps getting hotter, 96 degrees. A forecast coming your way here in just a bit. Vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance set to stop in Nashville this week as part of the Trump-Vance campaign trail. The Republican senator from Ohio will be in Music City tomorrow alongside Marsha Blackburn and Bill Hagerty, our U.S. senators. It's unclear at this time exactly where this event's taking place. Those details are set to be released here soon. Today, Southwest Airlines announcing it will be offering new daily nonstop service between Palm Beach International Airport and Nashville's airport. Flights are expected to begin taking off in March of next year. 3 other nonstop routes also being added next year with direct services to Indianapolis, Cabo San Lucas, and Punta Cana. That's all coming via Southwest Airlines in March of next year. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Sad to say, we live in a dangerous time in a dangerous world. How do you keep your important valuables safe and secure from theft or from fire? Might I recommend Nashville Safe House? Mark and his team at Nashville Safe House do a fabulous job, and it's what they do. I mean, you go to 4th Avenue South, right across from City Cemetery. You'll see Nashville Safe House. They've got a huge sign right outside their warehouse, and you walk into the lobby area. You'll see their Salesman of the Year, Joe Biden. Expected to be replaced by another Salesman of the Year, Kamala Harris. I'm trying to get in there on the Salesman of the Year action, but one way or the other. And then you walk into the showroom and you see these incredible safes. I mean, row after row after row. Safes and vault doors and biometrics and tornado shelters, and that's it. I mean, that's what they do. But they've got Browning and Fort Knox, Champion, Rhino. They've got a safe for every taste, every budget. They've got vault doors and storm shelters, as I mentioned as well. And the rebates aren't going to last forever on those Brownings, folks. So you need to get there to Nashville Safe House and check them out. As always, Nashville Safe House is sales tax free when it comes to gun safes. Nashville Safe House is located on 4th Avenue South across from City Cemetery. Go online at NashvilleSafeHouse.com or go see Mark and his team and select yourself a beautiful safe that's going to protect the things that protect your family from Nashville Safe House.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
When did Jay Harper remains in the newsroom? You know what we do with Jay? I don't know if they do this with Ken because he has to visit the boys' room so often. But I think with Harper, they lock the door. They get him in there at noon, and they lock the doors down, and they keep him in there. So he's normally back there. Jay, you back there?
Yeah, of course.
When did I missed it? I heard that you in the dentist newscast that you did tell us that it was J.D. Vance.
That is correct, yes. He is apparently going to be joined by Marsha Blackburn, Bill Haggerty, at an event that's being hosted by a Nashville business person.
Okay.
And they've yet to release details of whether it's a public thing or just a private fundraiser or what have you, but just the announcement that the Mr. Vance will be in town.
When?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Correct.
Okay. So I'm endeavoring on an opportunity to get him on, but I would be willing to bet you, and if I know my politics like I think I do, it is going to be a private fundraiser at a private location, but they will have some level of public component to it.
That's what I'm gathering, yes.
Yeah. Right? Like, they do the private thing, but then they have some adjacent public, hour, meet and greet with the press or whatever. But I'm working with my people to see if we can't get JD on the show tomorrow. I mean, and believe it or not, I actually have people in this regard. So I'm working with his advanced team, and they actually just sent me a message saying we're building out our media this week, and we're seeing where it fits in the schedule. And they asked us some show details, which I told them regarding, when the show's live. I told them we could pre-record anytime. So I would love to talk to the future Vice President of the United States of America and current Senator of Ohio, J.D. Vance. We'll let you know. 239, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So I want to be clear here because we've had our highs and lows. I want to follow up on this, and then I'm going to talk to you about Donald Trump being sentenced in September. I'm not casting any aspersion other than I'm telling you the real deal when it comes to Andy Ogles. And I back this up by saying that Andy and I have had our highs and lows since he first threw his hat in the ring when I was first getting to Nashville in early 2022. I got here my first show was December 13th of 2021. And it was just 4 months later that we're in the midst of a Republican primary, and the Republicans in the state of Tennessee had masterfully redrawn the districts, kind of carving out Cooper, creating what had been a Democrat district into what should be a Republican district. There was a lot of anticipation about who would run for it. Y'all remember all of this like I do. I'm elephantine. I remember these things. And then there was this issue with money, and there was some confusion about whether Andy was being truthful at the time, and we questioned him on it at the time, and he just cut me off. And for 10, 11 months, we were cut off. And it was at an Americans for Prosperity event. Andy was then the sitting congressman. He was at the event. I was at the event. We had not spoken since then. And I said publicly at the event, hey, Andy and I have been cross. We've been cross ways, but I'm here to tell you he's served great. He's voted great. I appreciate what he's done in Congress thus far. So thumbs up to you, Andy. Despite whatever past we might have, I appreciate your votes in Congress. That's what I said, and I meant it. And so we kind of repaired that, and he would come on the show, and we'd talk about things going on in D.C., and we talked about the ouster of McCarthy, and we talked about the election of Johnson, all of those things, everything that you and I have been following since then, from then till now. And now that he's under investigation on some level with the FBI, and he says nothing to it, it was a clerical error, no biggie, that could be the case. I'm not judging any of this based on any of the evidence because I don't know what the evidence is. But I would say this, and I'm not Andy Ogles. Many of you supporters are already coming after me. You've always had it in for Andy. That's not true. If the FBI seized my phone, as they apparently did with his, and if the FBI was coming after me in a politicized way, as he apparently is telling his friends and colleagues that they are, I would be answering the call of Dan Mandis is nothing but a friend of Andy Ogles, and I'm not speaking for any of Dan or Brian or anyone or Chris or anyone else or any other media outlet. But I'll tell you this, if I were wrongly accused of something and it was merely a clerical error and they were trying to utilize that clerical error in a way to criminalize my behavior, I would be shouting from every platform available to be heard in the 5th Congressional District that I did nothing wrong. I would be defending myself on every platform available. That's all I'm here to tell you. And I don't care what my lawyers would be advising me to do. If I didn't do anything wrong, I know I didn't do anything wrong. So I don't trust the FBI as far as I can throw them. And the FBI is a huge organization. And, you know, and I hear you, Dave, and I hear a lot of these Andy Ogles supporters coming out of the woodwork because I'm getting them all on the super text line now going, his attorneys are obviously advising him not to comment on the case. Folks, I'm not defending the FBI when I tell you this. I don't defend the FBI. I am on record as saying that I believe we need to dismantle the FBI. This is not about the FBI. This is being available to your constituents. All you have to do is come on the Matt Murphy Show or on Dan Mandis or Brian Wilson or Chris Hand or whomever. And when you are asked the question, you say, guys, I've been asked not to say anything about it. And that's all you have. And I can ask the question as many times as I want. All you have to say is, Murphy, my attorneys have told me not to say anything about it right now. Instead, silence. Radio silence. That's weird. That's weird. And 1063 says, you don't know what's going on, so I give him a little grace. When did this become public? Like a month ago? It's been like a month.
Yeah, close to it.
Right. When it became public that his phone got seized? Look, I'm not saying that it's not the FBI going after him. I'm not saying it's not Biden and Kamala Harris and the rest going after him. I'm not saying anything other than it is odd that he is not being available. He's not making himself available. Something else seems to be going on. That's all I'm saying. Speaking of something else going on, there was a pretty big deal that happened last week that, I'll admit that I did not notice it at the time that it happened, but I certainly noticed it over the weekend, and it's going to dramatically affect what goes on September 18th. If you don't know that date, September 18th, it's coming up. I mean, it's less than 4 weeks away, about 3 weeks away, as a matter of fact. The judge in the Donald Trump New York trial, Juan Merchan, is scheduled to sentence Donald Trump. Well, we got a big-time tip as to how that's going to or not going to happen when Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, you guys remember old Alvin? Alvin! Has conceded that it would be prudent for the state court to postpone sentencing of Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump, which, as I say, currently scheduled to happen on September 18th. In a letter to Judge Juan Merchan, which was docketed by the court on Monday, that's last Monday, though the date was actually scheduled, it was actually dated the prior Friday, according to National Review. Bragg acknowledged that some of the evidence introduced by his prosecution team at the trial last spring was improperly admitted under the new immunity ruling by United States v. Trump. The High Court's decision was issued about a month after the trial, in which the jury found Trump guilty of 34 separate counts of business record falsification. The majority justices held that former presidents have some level of presumptive immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts, including a right to preclude such acts from being used as evidence by prosecutors. So here's the bottom line. Donald Trump's counsel warned Alvin Bragg not to do this, and they did it anyway. Bragg's prosecutors offered evidence into the court. Judge Juan Merchan allowed it to happen, or Merchan. I forget how he pronounced it. I think it's Merchan. Admitted it into evidence. There was significant evidence offered in the trial involving Donald Trump's official acts as president of the United States. And prosecution team, compelled by subpoena the testimony of two Trump White House staffers, which would presumably be off limits based on the Supreme Court ruling. At trial, Bragg repeatedly said that there was no presidential immunity and no exclusion of evidence. Well, obviously that's not the case. Now Bragg is saying, look, we have obviously included certain evidence that is going to be considered under appeal. The bottom line, Bragg has warned Judge Juan Merchan not to sentence, or has admonished him that he, through observation and through the obvious, would think that this would be better served to postpone it. I think it will be postponed permanently. According to this Bragg letter, I mean, Juan Merchan is either going to perp walk Donald Trump for no reason whatsoever, or he will postpone the sentencing, at which time I do not believe that Donald Trump not only will never be sentenced, he'll never be retried. They'll reverse this on appeal, and there will never be another trial. Because Donald Trump will either be president of the United States of America, or he will never have an opportunity to be president of the United States of America again. Either way, there's no reason to put him on trial in New York City again with such a flimsy case, because the entire principal point was that Democrats could run around and scream about felonies that he's been convicted of, when all of us watching that trial knows that it was nothing but a dog and pony show. Speaking of dog and pony shows, we will wrap up ours and we will hand off to The Drive with Brian Wilson next. We'll check in with Brian, see what's going on with him on this Monday edition. Stand by for news. Little news breaking today. Another endorsement, and another Democrat comes out and endorses Donald Trump. Tulsi Gabbard has done so, and it's my information that perhaps Tulsi Gabbard might be joining J.D. Vance in his visit to Nashville, Tennessee, or to Tennessee, Middle Tennessee. I shouldn't say Nashville proper. Maybe Brian Wilson is sleuthing on some of these issues as well. I know he's sleuthing all over the 3 to 7
That's
hours.
What I am. I'm a sneaky sleuth.
You're a sleuther. Hello, Brian Wilson. I hope you had a good weekend, friend.
I did. I had a great weekend. I hope yours was well.
Yep.
Ready to hit it hard this week as we. This is one of those weeks where we're going to be headed into a holiday weekend, so it'll be a busy one. A lot of things to get accomplished between now and Friday.
After a weekend of kind of ruminating on the RFK Jr., I mean, I downplayed it. I don't think I should have, because I think it was a big deal, and it certainly took every bit of air out of the DNC. I mean, nobody's talking about the DNC today.
No, and it was a great way to stop, all the talk. I mean, usually you come out of the convention with a bump, and what happened, the glow, and all of that, and it's talked about for 2 or 3 days afterwards. Immediately, Trump took it off the table as a talking point in that news cycle by, bringing on RFK. Now, the question is, how many of the voters that support RFK will now support Trump? But I think it's definitely a good thing, and I'm going to tell you, I'm beginning to get some real concern. Well, I don't know if it's concern, but I guess I'm hearing from people that I really respect who say, these numbers that the Democrats have been running up, this surge that happened, it seems to be sort of unreal, and there seems to be some legitimate reasons why pollsters now believe that. So even though if you look at the numbers, it looks very tight, you have to wonder, are these numbers realistic? And people that I really respect say, really honestly, there's some reasons to be concerned about those numbers. And so we'll get into some of that today.
And maybe it's just football season being here, Brian, but I kind of feel like the game has just started. We had the pep rallies, the DNC had theirs, the RNC had theirs, and now here we go, baby. First quarter. Nice
analogy. I agree with it completely. And Trump today's got all kinds of news. We'll start with that right after the 3 o'clock news.
Cannot wait. Brian Wilson's on the way next with The Drive. Look forward to those 4 hours, and I hope you rejoin us here at high noon tomorrow. Maybe just, look, I'm not counting my chickens before they hatch, but I'm working hard to get you some J.D. Vance tomorrow. So we'll see if that happens. One way or the other, we'll be here at high noon. Until then, have a wonderful afternoon. Enjoy The Drive. Hug your loved ones. So long, everybody.